Okay, so I'm going to show how to continue making your chassis. I'm going to make a back wall and side walls and maybe a lid here. So if I got my chassis part here, like I've been defining, I need to make other parts relative to it. And how I pick these parts might depend on how I want them to be assembled. So let's say I want a back plate on my chassis, and I want it to fit completely overlapping with my bottom plate, because I'm going to use the bottom plate to screw into it. So what I'm going to do is, just like before where I select a plane to create a sketch, I'm going to do that again. But this time, the plane I'm going to use is this back plane here. So it's not one of the predefined planes. It's actually this flat surface on the back of my robot. So I can select that and click Sketch. If I want to rename this sketch, I could call this Sumobot backplate. Okay. And now if I want to view this normal, I can either press N or I can click on the cube here, back. That will lay it flat. I'm going to go ahead and draw my rectangle. Before I used a center point rectangle, but here it might be better to do a corner rectangle. Here I can select a corner, and if you see, I can actually highlight the corner that's already there. That way it is, the corner of this rectangle is perfectly at the other one. I'm going to drag it up to here. I want it to be completely vertical with this other corner. So I'm going to go down here and just hover over this corner to sort of wake it up. And now when I come up here, I can snap it right above there. Okay. I'm going to add dimensions, and I only need to add an up and down dimension because its side-to-side dimension is determined by my other plate. I'm going to call this, let's say it needs to be 8 centimeters tall. Okay. So there we are. I'm going to click the green check mark. Now I've got my new sketch. I'm going to highlight it. You'll notice that it didn't highlight the whole back. I actually, might need to highlight more than one section right there, because that there was an edge that broke that up. This way you can say which edges you want to extrude or not. So I'm going to highlight the whole back section. I'm going to click extrude. I'm going to use 3/8 inch HDPE again. One thing I want to point out is that it automatically selected add here for my extrude. What this will do is it will add a 3/8 inch extrusion to the previous one. You'll see what happens if I click this green check mark. It's actually one piece. And actually it looks like I did 3/8 centimeters. I needed to change that to inches. But I don't actually want that, because in the real world, I'm not going to make it out of one piece. I need separate pieces, and I need to think about how they're going to be assembled. So let me go back into that extrude. I'm going to double click extrude 2. And instead of selecting add, I'm going to click, this is a new extrusion. So it'll make it a whole separate piece. And once again, my depth shouldn't be 3/8 of a centimeter. It should be 3/8 of an inch. Let's change that. All right, green check mark. Let's look at my new extrusion. There, that looks better. So this is looking like a different piece. Now, as you assemble this, you need to start thinking about your dimensions as a whole. So when I originally made my base plate, I made it 19 by 19. Well, I just added thickness on here. So I'm actually going to start getting larger than I originally intended. Maybe I should have made this back plate on top of my base plate. That would be one option. I could switch that. Another thing I could do would be to go in and change the dimensions of my original sketch. So this is kind of one of the nice things about CAD. If I sort of dimension these things along with each other, I can just go back and change that. Let's go back to Sumobot chassis, my first sketch. And before, when I made this 19 centimeters tall, you know what? Maybe I need to shorten that a little bit. Let's make that 16 centimeters. Okay. Now, all of my other dimensions stayed the same. I'm still 3 centimeters from the back. My wheel space is still 6 centimeters by 3 centimeters. Sorry, I'm 2 centimeters from the back. But everything else gets adjusted. Now I press the green check mark, and all of my 3D renderings adjust as well. All right. If I'm worried about that total dimension, dimensioning, let's see if I can move my. Oh, I can't move this. Well, let me get rid of it. There we go. If I'm worried about my total dimensions, I can always check the dimensions by clicking one feature, so this back edge, clicking another feature, so this front surface, And down here, it'll show me the parallel distance is 16.953 centimeters. So I know I'm still within the size limits. All right. So that would be part 2. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. That shows how to make a second part and how to modify one of your already created parts as you make this Sumobot. Baby steps.